Going live. We are live. You guys, sorry, I'm 7 minutes late. I know it. I just had a phone call come in and it was kind of important. And it involved my new motor home. So I needed to take that phone call. So today, first of all, welcome. Welcome to the Anyone Can Farm live chat, Tuesday night edition. Today is the 13th of May, 2025. I'm Mark, your host. I got a wound on my forehead here from a branch when I was mowing. And I'm coming to you from lovely Marion, Michigan, and northern lower Michigan. Beautiful day today. We had upwards of 65 degrees, and it appears as like spring is here. Yesterday it was nearly 80 degrees. So a little warm for us up here, but we enjoyed it. So a little bit of housekeeping. This coming week, we're having a Homestead conference in Lake Odessa, Michigan. It's down the road from me about an hour and 50 minutes. It's right on Route 66, so it's pretty easy to find. It's called the Mitten Homestead Conference, and it starts, it starts the 16th, and it's the 16th and 17th. And so I'm going. We're going to leave Thursday. We're going to camp down there in our new motorhome and really have a good time. Now, last year was the first year. There was a few bugs, but they're going to get that straightened out this year. Nothing big. Last year, me and Jill stayed in a fifth wheel trailer on somebody's property, an Airbnb type thing, and it was right next to a river. Pretty nice river too. Like there was geese floating down the river, and we swam in the river. But then I decided I wasn't going to do that the second day because I was afraid I might step on something. I only had one pair of shoes with me, so I couldn't afford to get them wet. So we had a nice time. Had a really nice time. Decided last year we would go again. I don't do many farm conferences. I really don't have time to do it. It's not what I do. What I do is this. I farm here. But I am quite interested in outreach to the community of people that want to do what we do. So this one is local to me. It's in my state. And I feel pretty good about going. But like traveling far to go to farm conferences, I haven't done that in a long time. And, it doesn't really come across my desk anymore, and I'm not seeking it out. So that's the way it is. Pretty busy around here. I just had a message come in. What's tomorrow night? Wednesday night. I better answer him. Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. My brother-in-law is offering to help me pull the loader off the new tractor that we got. It's got a problem, and he's an expert on tractors, so he's gonna help me out with that. So that's very nice that he's helping. So I just said yes, it would help. Let's see. So yeah, that's going to be going on. There's a lot of really interesting people that are presenting, and I think you will have a good time if you go. If you want to look into that, it's just type in Mitten Homestead, and then you can register and pay for a seat. It's at the Lake Odessa Fairgrounds, and it's pretty nice there. It's really pretty nice. Down at the end of the road from there, there's Lake Odessa is there, and it's a really nice area. Kind of touristy, but not big. This still pretty small town. I had a whale of a time last year. So let me shut a door here because it's creaking in the wind. So today was just a normal Tuesday, except yesterday and today I dedicated to working on the camper. The camper is a 1976 Ford E350. That's the chassis, and then it has a conversion on it that's sort of a camper, so it's sort of a motor home, more like a motor home. And I've always wanted one. And the story on that is there was one over at John Spears from Spears Automotive, and it was just sitting there all lonely and everything. And I asked about it, and they said, "Oh, well, we towed it for a lady, and she wanted us to get it running, so we got it running, but then she never came and got it. So we wound up with the title. Why, do you want it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I sold it to one of the drivers. I sold it to Blaze. Maybe he'll sell it to you. He needs money." So I asked Blaze, and he sold it to me. Very reasonable. And I looked it over, and I just saw it's just got a lot of potential. Whoever had it took really good care of it. And we got it started, and I think that was back in March, probably. Got it started, drove it home, and then just started picking away at it, doing things, getting it cleaned out. Still had a lot of personal effects in it from the people that owned it before. Pots and pans and stuff. Good stuff. We kept a lot of it, but a lot of it we didn't need. And then I've been dedicating a little bit of time here and there. And I took it out Sunday night and did a high-speed run with it. I got to go on 55 on the highway. And I've never driven anything like that. And it feels kind of funny. It's big, and it just feels like it's pushing a lot of wind. It's got a lot of power. It's got a big 460 engine in it. And it runs smooth, runs good. I think it looks nice. Had some cosmetic things that need to be done. The nose on it is just a regular 1976 Econoline van nose. And, it's nearly 50 years old. So it had a little bit of rust coming through, but nothing through. It's just a little surface rust. So we spent Monday, we took all the trim off and everything and then sanded it down. And Jim was working on that pretty hard. And I went to the auto parts and I got a quart of the same color paint that it came in. And by about 8 o'clock last night, the wind had died down, maybe about 8:30, enough that I could paint it. And I did that and went out this morning, and that looks good. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it'll be good. It's covered up. Now it's all white. It's like beige color. And then I had to pull the mirrors off and get them cleaned up and painted. And Keith Sutton was down today, and he climbed in there and got the water heater to come on. A lot of that equipment I had never seen, but he's worked on it. And then tinkered around with the furnace, but I don't think we'll be using the furnace this time around. So we just decided, let's not get into that too deep. And maybe I'll look at it tomorrow. I kind of know what's wrong with it now. Keith pointed me in the right direction. But I mostly want it to look good going down the road, painted and clean and everything. And want to make sure we have lights in it and the awning works and all that stuff. But as far as the propane and all that, I don't think we're really going to need it this time around. Maybe I'll get after it tomorrow and get it going. But I developed a problem. It has these marker lights on it, and half of them were missing. The lenses were missing. And so there's an RV place in town. So I shot into town and I thought, they'll have them. No, they don't have them. They don't have them. I went all around Cadillac looking for them. And I thought, well, that's not going to happen. We'll just have to go without them. And I had to stop at Ebel's to grab a can of paint to paint the mirrors. And I just said, what the heck, I'll look back there to see. And they had the exact lights that I needed. And they were cheap. They were $5 each. It was the whole light assembly. So I could swap the whole light assembly out if I wanted to. It's just a couple screws, take it out, twist the wire, put it back on. It's good to go. And I was doing that, and I was also changing two of the taillights. The taillight on one side, the bulbs were gone. They were out of it. They were blown out. And I changed them. Boom, they came on. All right, I got taillights. And then the taillight that was existing, that was on, was dimmer than the new one that I just put in. So I thought, well, I got a 2-pack. I'll just change that one. And when I did, I put the wrong bulb in, and something went wrong. And so I thought, oh, I must have blown a fuse. So I got under there and at the fuse box, I didn't see any fuses blown, not one, and none of it was identified what it was. It was just accessory and seat belt. That was strange on a 76. It's only got lap belts. So I really couldn't figure it out, and I need those running lights to work. You got to have tail lights if I'm going to be traveling at night. And I don't plan to. I don't plan to travel at night. I'm going down during the day. I'm going to come back Saturday afternoon. I do not want to travel at night until I get used to this. I want to get used to this machine. So I called a buddy of mine that works on these all the time, and he said, oh, you want to do this? And he told me exactly what to do, and I'm quite sure that I will find it. He says, if that doesn't work, call me. So he'd probably toddle over and help me out with it. But that's nice. It's nice to have a group of people that know stuff. But I think that this is going to be really fun. Jill got in there today, and she took down all the curtains, and they went in the washing machine. And then she went through, and she just wiped everything down, washed everything, spick and span. So it smells good in there now. I cleaned the doors. The doors are kind of vinyl on the inside, these old trucks. And I just scrubbed it with a brush. They look brand new. So it's got a good paint job on it. We'll get the lights working. We'll get it going. Go down the road with it. It's going to be fun, I think. I've never owned a motorhome. Every time we've gone camping, it's always been with a tent. I had a pull-behind trailer for a brief time, but this is long, long ago. And it was never when, I had my family. It was when I was a single man. So yeah, that's what's coming up here Thursday. I got tomorrow to put some finishing touches on it, wash the outside and make sure all the windows are clean and all that stuff back up. And then we're going to hit the road the next day. So that'll be fun. We did not really have a subject for tonight, but something kind of interesting happened to me the other day. And when I go to Lake Odessa, Mina asked me if I would give an inspirational speech, I guess. And I said, sure, whatever. And I didn't know what I was going to say. And, it's getting close. And I'm thinking, I better think of something to say. And the other day when I went to the auto parts store, this will be a little precursor of what I'm going to talk about down there at the farm conference. I was at the auto parts. You go in, if you're going to buy paint, you go in, there's a tag under the hood that you can take off and they match it up. And the lady there, super nice, up in Lake City, super nice, very helpful. She's getting the paint. And the guy standing at the counter, and he saw my shirt. I had the same shirt on yesterday. And he says, oh, Baker's Green Acres, pasture-based livestock. What's that all about? And I said, well, we have a farm and we raise beef, pork, and we have a farm store, and we stay pretty busy. And he said something to the effect of, yeah, just enough to keep you poor. Just enough to keep you poor. And farmers say stuff like that, like they call it the farmer's whine about how poor they are and how rough things are and all that stuff. I never really got into it. And he said it in jest, as though I would say something like, oh, yeah, life is rough. And he must have seen by the look on my face that I wasn't on to where he was going. And I said, well, no, actually, we do pretty well. And he says, oh. I said, yeah. The system that we see all around us is not going so well. But that's not what we're doing. And then he introduced himself, and he says that he's some sort of minister running a place up there in Lake City that deals with used clothes and stuff. It's like a secondhand shop, pretty big up. And on the way home, and he said, I said, you want one of my cards? And he said, oh yeah. And he said, I'd like to come by and talk to you about that sometime. And I said, sure, make an appointment. And then the lady behind the counter said, oh, can I have one? And I gave her one too. And it was a nice encounter. It was a good encounter. There was no hard feelings or anything like that. But I think I kind of enlightened them a little bit, because we started talking about, the food system as it is right now, and how people are looking for an alternative, and people know that their health doesn't come out of a bottle of pills or things like that, and their health probably comes from what they put in their mouth. So they agreed with me. And anyway, on the way home, I was thinking about his comment about farming and being poor, and how it's almost sort of a joke, almost like I don't have an alternative. I'm poor, and there's nothing I can do about it because this career field is so bad. It's so bad. And I started thinking about, I even asked him, I said, well, in the business that you're in, he's a pastor of some sort. You're probably familiar with spells and incantations. And he said, well, yeah, we don't do spells and incantations, but yeah, I'm aware that goes on. And I said, well, you've heard the quip, there ain't no money in farming, haven't you? And he says, oh yeah. I said, well, that's actually a spell, because there's a lot of money in farming. It's almost like saying, well, there ain't no money in pharmaceuticals. Well, you don't hear people say that, do you? I don't. There ain't no money in rum running. There ain't no money in the manufacture of alcoholic beverages. Ain't no money in that. That's kind of crazy. There's a lot of money in that. But somehow there ain't no money in farming gets said over and over and over. And I think it has a lot to do with something that Keith and I were talking about today. It's words have meaning, and they actually have power. And when you say something enough, you start to believe it, and you can even start living that way. Like if you say that, oh, I'm sick, I got so many problems, there's nothing I might as well put a gun to my head. If you keep saying that, that's the direction that you're going to go. That's the direction you're going to go. What you have to do is look for the good and then wrap your arms around that and even say, I'm having a good day. I mean, in the scope of things, even when something terrible happens, like an animal dies or a dog dies or a loved one dies, you're not dying. You're not getting shot at. There aren't people that want to scalp you. Life is got a lot of good, but there is going to be some rough points along the way. And farming's like that for sure. There's rough points. Fixing up an RV. You get an electrical problem like this, and it's like, what the heck? How come I can't find this? And but overall, I really can back up from that, even that little problem that I'm having right now with no taillights, and say, hey, well, that's not a showstopper because I don't need taillights to get down there during the day. My brake lights are working and I need those, but I don't need all my running lights and I don't need my taillights. I just don't, because I'm going to be traveling during the day. So worst case scenario, we're still going and we're still taking the motorhome. So it could be worse is the thing. And to say that the career field that you're in, the way of life that you're pursuing is austere at best it's not correct. It's just not correct and on the way home, I was thinking, well, I would like to have this guy come out because he does have outreach into the community and have him see what all is going on here. And he would see that, whoa, there is a lot going on here. There is a lot of product leaving here. There is a lot of people coming and going. And there's a lot of, we have guys that are working and they're being paid. And it is really going and going well. Our milking operation is absolutely sensational. I couldn't ask for anything better than that. But let me stop for a minute because I just remembered something when I said when we lose a loved one. The day before yesterday, 4:00 in the morning, one of our tribe members, and you guys have seen her on here, her name is Inga Brummans, passed. Yeah, 4 a.m. she passed. I haven't called to talk to her kids. It's Lee and Crystal, from Hidden Creek Farm. I haven't. I'm going to give them a couple of days, but I am going to call and just offer my condolences. And, that's all you can do. But she was a really nice lady. She was really always good to us. Real team player, She was real good to her kids. And it's kind of it's a very sad thing that she's left us. So one of our tribe people has left us. So, but on to better things for her. On to better things. But back to my train of thought with this pastor. I think that there is two ways to look at life, right? You can look through the lens of austerity, like there's just not enough. There's not enough for everybody. Or you can look through the lens of abundance. And I think what has happened in American culture is everything has boiled down to money, currency, U.S. currency. And I get that. I've been there. When I came out of the military, when you're in the military, you make enough money to just get by. But the last thing you want to do with your military members is overpay them. That's the last thing you want to do. You've got a bunch of young men. They're all pretty hostile. And it's good if they're kind of broke, because they can get themselves in a lot of trouble if they had a lot of money. So they set the pay scale, and they've done this with soldiers throughout the ages. They're low paid. But the way of life draws young men to that, young women now too. And it's worked out pretty good, because the military is only there for two reasons, and that's to kill people and break things. Occasionally we operate in a defensive manner, but our offensive prowess is what we rely on for defense. It's not a social club. It's not a place where people can go to learn things or anything like that. I mean, you do learn things along the way. You get trained, but you get trained to do specific things. It's not a place to expand your, it's not an outward bound type thing. You can have the same effect, but it's not an outward bound thing. And when I came out of the military, I thought, well, out here in the world, this is where, okay, I see people with really nice stuff, nice homes and Corvettes and all this stuff. I got to get me some of that. But at the same time, we chose a way of life instead of a fat paycheck. And we had the option. And went with the way of life. Now, the way of life that we chose, there wasn't a manual to follow. There wasn't a checklist for me to follow. We really had to find our own way. I didn't know it would be like that. I thought that coming into a farming community would be like going into a military community, because that's all I knew. And I thought that people came together and helped each other, information and shared resources and stuff like that. But it really isn't like that. The much smaller farms are more like that, but they don't throw it out there. If you ask for help, you can get help for sure. But the bigger farms, you wouldn't even know who to talk to. It's very compartmentalized. Oh, I'm in charge of the hired guys. Well, I'm in charge of equipment. I'm in charge of this. And I'm the field manager. So, and those guys don't know much about building fences or butchering animals or any of the things that we do on a farm like this. This farm is more like a 1900 farm. It really is. And it's probably better because we have the advantage that they didn't have of dependable vehicles, dependable tractors, low priced tractors. Smaller tractors are really, for the amount of work that you can do with them, they're really inexpensive for what you can get out of them. And we have a lot of fuel available to us, and we kind of complain about $3 a gallon gas, but on a gallon of gas, I can get to Cadillac and back. If I had a horse and wagon, I wouldn't be getting back until 4 p.m. if I left bright and early. It would be really difficult. So that's very economical when you really boil it down. To get me from point A to point B is pretty darn cheap. And with that in mind, but that is an abundance mindset. If all you're thinking about is, well, life would be better if gasoline was $1.50. It really wouldn't. It'd be about the same. You just would have a little bit more change in your pocket. But what would you do with it? So the abundance lifestyle is looking for wealth building opportunities and wealth building resources in places where you wouldn't normally look. And it's not always dollars. It's not dollars. A lot of times around here, we have more dollars than we have time. Not all the time, but sometimes. And it's like, well, let's just let this sit here for now until we need it. And because we got this great big pile of lumber that has to be used up and all this roofing stuff that has to go on. And, so it's about a balance. It's about a balance. And looking back now, 21 years here, I really think that it almost looks like about the first 14 years was just training. Because when I think back on some of the things that I put time and energy into that now are nothing, I wasted a lot of time and a lot of money. I could go down the list. It's sometimes it's kind of embarrassing when I think of things that we thought we wanted to do and we could make a living doing it. It's just like, but where we've settled is people need food. It's like there ain't no money in food. Well, no, people need food. It's not like they can go without. Got somebody sneaking up on me. And so to say that there ain't no money in food, well, that's crazy. So if you can produce food and you do it efficiently, you can make a pretty good gain on that. But to think if I had $1 million, I would build a butcher shop. Well, you still need to know how to butcher. Well, if I had $1 million, I'd hire somebody to butcher for me. Okay, well, if you got $1 million, why don't you just sit in the house? You don't have anything really to do. You don't need to do anything. So I think the abundance, I really think there's a spiritual component to this for sure. And I know that that's going to come up at Lake Odessa because I really don't want to avoid it. I want to weave that in. But we are actually stewarding the created world. We're stewarding it. So the animals definitely need me and I need them. This doesn't work without them. We don't have milk without cows, but the cows need me because they wouldn't survive in the wintertime if they didn't have hay put up and somebody to give it to them. If I just gave them the whole hay pile, they'd ruin it and then they'd starve. So they need me. They need to be separated from other disciplines that are going on here. They can't be in with the pigs. They can't be in the garden. The pigs can't be in with the chickens. Everybody has to be separated. So they need me, but I need them. I need them for sure. If we have a butcher shop, but we have no animals to butcher, we don't have what we need. I suppose we could go out and buy other people's animals, but then it loses its efficiency and it loses its economic edge if you do that. You can actually raise animals pretty inexpensively, but then if you take them to a middleman or a middleman and a middleman and a middleman, you're not getting much for them. And like right now, the price of steers is unbelievable. Just a weaned calf is bringing $1,000, which is insanity. And I don't know how that one's going to play out. I haven't been in enough cycles like that to know, but it really doesn't affect me because my calves, they're either heifers that go into our herd. If we don't need them in the herd, then we would sell them as a milk cow. And the bulls get castrated or steered, and then they go in with my steers and they just eat grass all summer and get big. And, eventually they go into the butcher shop. So that system doesn't touch me like it does the conventional guys. But that notion of austerity, life's rough. there ain't no money, it's tough going. That is such a load. It is such a load. If you break out of that and you have the eyes to see the abundance that we live in this creation, you're freed from all of that. And then I know when I usually like to give an inspirational talk at something like this, and I when I do that, I like to say, I'll take 10 questions, and I know somebody's going to say something about, well, it's against the law to do, and we've heard all the things that, the Department of Agriculture and the like, it goes against their rules. And for a long time, I thought that their rules are there to benefit industrial agriculture, but I'm not sure about that now as I think about this. They come out of universities that are definitely socialist, right on the edge of communist. And communists hate free society. They hate it. In a communist society, if you're at the top, life's good. Life's good. As far as economics go, you're doing okay because you're in on the party line and you're doing what you're supposed to do, so you get paid okay. It's not a good place for a producer, though. It's a good place for a parasite that lives off the backs of people who do produce. But in a communist society, being a producer is not good because you don't get to keep what you produce. You don't get fair market value for what you produce. So, yeah. But the way industrial ag has communist, it really is, because the austerity hardship case, and then the government offers them money, but the government says, but only if you build this or this or this. No, well, I want to build fences. No, you can't build fences. We won't give you money to do that. We'll give you money to build a center pivot. Well, we don't really need center pivots because it rains pretty good here. Well, we want you to put in a center pivot. And obviously we've got buddies that sell center pivots, and we'd like to see them sell them around here. So you see a lot of stuff that gets built in industrial agriculture, and when you're in agriculture, you're in production like we are, you look at it and say, I wonder why they did that. That doesn't even make sense. But they need that flow of cash, and so they do it, and they take their cut of it, but then they build what they're told to build, put in another building, get another set of tractors, whatever. And, it just gets out of control after a while. And then you have the whole network is dictating the price of the product that they're producing. And so they're not really profiting off of what they're doing. They're profiting off of the money that they're getting. It's redistribution of wealth is what it is, because that's all. The government doesn't have money. They take money from some people and then give it to other people. And so that's kind of how that works. But and that isn't a great system, and it has been faltering ever since it started. And who knows where it's going to go now? Who knows? It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not advocating for stopping industrial agriculture. I'm not. They can do what they want, but we're going to do what we want. And why would we want to do what they do, knowing full well that you're just going through the motions, but that's not really where your money's coming from? Where in what we're doing, okay, we raise a steer, we butcher that steer goes out through the store. We milk 10 cows, knocking down 40 gallons of milk a day. That goes out to the customers. Cha-ching. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You're providing a good product to people who want it, and you're making a living at the same time. Now, why would they regulate that? Why would they do that? And I think that there's a level there of keeping people in austerity, making you believe that we're not in an abundant creation, because I truly believe that we are. I truly believe we are. I mean, I could not ask for a better lifestyle than I have. I really couldn't. I really like what I do. So I'm going to develop that concept a little bit and bring that up at the Homestead conference. I got a few other things to say, but I don't want to tip my hand too much. So let me read through what you guys are saying. Keith, good evening, Mark. It's nice and cool out here in the greenhouse. I have plants that I have to get ready to put out in the buckets. Right on. David Duncan's with us. Pastor Duncan, Just Me's with us. Brian Jacob is back. Ballistic, I'm staying in a Ford motorhome with a 460. Runs great. Staying at an old farm, 60 acres. All right. I wonder if it's kind of like mine. You ought to post a picture of it so I could see it. Okay, Brian, my condolences. Thank you. Brian Jacob, running a year-round greenhouse, aquaponics, was the biggest waste of energy I've ever done. Yeah, he's run through that with me. And then Brian went on the carnivore diet and things really turned around for him then. Then he quit raising hot peppers and stuff, making salsa. Yeah. Intentional. Dang, I need to set my alarm for 8 o'clock. It always sneaks up on me. Well, the ghost. Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. All right, the ghost is with us. Hey, Ghost, what do you think about joining the United States of America? I'm hearing that Alberta is having a referendum. I'm not sure how true that is, but I heard some woman appeared to be in government there in Canada because she said a lot. And it was about a referendum that Albertans would like to join the United States of America. Wouldn't that be funny? Now, I heard that old Trump was supposed to make some big announcement like last week, Friday or Monday. And I haven't seen anything, but I've been pretty busy working on the old motorhome. So does anybody know? Has anybody got any input for me that you wanna flesh out here? I'm gonna call it off here at 9 o'clock. I want to go and do what old Gino told me to do on my motorhome to figure out what my problem is. Anybody got anything? Anybody? Come on, International. You've got something. I know you've got something. We went down to, I think I told you guys about this last week. We went down to the DeClerc Homestead last week. It was Women's Day. Yeah, I'm excited too. We're going to have fun. And so I drove, and then I got to hang around a little bit. It was kind of fun. Had a good time. It's always fun going down there. And then we hung around for quite a while afterwards and stuffed our faces with good food and stuff. But we brought home 2 puppies. You guys know Claire, the female here, Pyrenees. She passed a little while ago, and yeah, we wanted to replace her. Obi's getting pretty old. He's like 11, so they go about 12, maybe 13. So, he'll be going soon. And so we'll be just down to 2 of them. We'll have Louie, and then the new puppy's name is Oscar. But we brought 2 of them home, and my daughter Rachel is going to take the female. So, all right. Well, Brian dropped Cash off at Missouri Welding. Cash is Brian's youngest son, and he's an aspiring welder. Good career field. Ghost says, wouldn't mind becoming America. TDS is running rampant up here. It is here too. Yeah. I don't know. My take on that, it's kind of fun to watch people freak out about Trump. But I really don't think that I'm counting on anybody else to save the day. So I don't watch it that closely anymore. I just don't. All right. Brian says that was intense. What was intense? Oh, dropping cash off. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Yep. It's tough when you run out of kids like that. I'm down to my last two. Frank's 13, Jim's 16. Jim's driving now. He got a little pickup truck, a little Dakota pickup truck, a 1999. So it's kind of an old one, but it's in good shape. Got it from John Spears Automotive, and got a good deal on it. And it's fixed up, and he's running. And him and Frank are terrorizing, going out yard sailing and bringing all kinds of stuff home and doing all kinds of fun stuff. They had to take a couple of sheep over to my second oldest son, Joe's house. He lives in Cadillac. So they caught the sheep and they put them in a dog crate. And Jill was in Cadillac as well at the milk drop. And it's at the jiu-jitsu studio. So she's in the parking lot dropping milk off. And she hears something coming. She hears these sheep, bah, bah, coming down the main drag there in Cadillac. Everybody's like, what is going on? And there they go. The two of them drive by. Yep. Pretty good. All right. So if that does it for tonight and nobody's got any parting shots, I think I'd kind of like to sign off and get some stuff accomplished before I run out of sunlight. Okay. Good. See you this weekend. Remember, anyone can farm. Good night.